make use of data, make use of information, be analytical about your business. Do not do analysis paralysis, but make sure that, again, take calculated risks. Okay, don't take risk. Take calculated risk. Okay, every investment that we do, it is fully calculated. We know what the return on investment will be. We know what the payback period will be. We know what the internal rate of return will be. Will be the net MPV, everything. We do all those calculations before we open one shop.
Welcome to another episode of Paid in Full, where we actually talk about how money is made in any space, profession, or industry. I remain your host, Ogeva Imasuan, and it's glad to see you guys. It's been a while. However, we are looking into an industry that literally takes care of all of us in Nigeria. We all survive, millions of Nigerians, the fast food restaurants. Did you know that Chicken Republic, PieXpress, and Chop Box are all under the same franchise? I bet you didn't know. But today we're going to find out all about that and how the business is run, not just on a small scale, but on a large scale. And we'll have the best candidate to actually dissect this all for us. The best person, and I am really looking forward to this conversation. We have here with me the MD of Chicken Republic, Mr. Kofi Abunu. Mr. Kofi Abunu, welcome to Paid in Full.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, thank you. I feel this will be a very, very interesting conversation.
Really?
Yeah. The fact that you wore blue and I wore blue, that's enough to show that we're in sync, right?
Exactly.
It's really good to have you here. Yeah. And it's been at the top of my head since. Right. It's kind of a personal question.
Okay.
Are you Nigerian or you're Ghanaian, Kofi?
I'm Ghanaian.
Fully Ghanaian?
100%.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good. And so how's it been like? I know Nigeria can be difficult sometimes. How's it been like, working with Nigeria?
Well, let's put it this way. It's been interesting.
Okay.
Okay. I've been in Nigeria 18 years now.
18 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, my wife is Nigerian.
You're Nigerian.
You're laying claim to me already. Okay.
Yeah. As long as we don't have the Ghana and Nigerian jollof wars.
No. Let's postpone that one. Let's postpone that one. Yeah.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
I mean, from our research, right, before even approaching you, it shows you have a very long career in managing restaurants. We even found out that you actually worked at McDonald's at the age of 16. And to think that your journey has come back here, is really inspiring, right? So can you just shed a little light on how that was, transitioning, from that journey? If you knew this was where you wanted to be at the time, or you changed your mind, or you went off track and came back, just shed a little bit more light on that, please.
So, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, I started, like you said, I started McDonald's when I was 16. Really, it was just to earn a little bit of pocket money.
Yeah, at the time.
I mean, the beauty about the UK, when you're studying, you can go to work part-time, get a weekend job, and so on. And so that was exactly what I was doing. Yeah. And so whilst I was in school, I basically took up the job on a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday job.
Okay.
And that was giving
me
shifts. Weekend shifts, exactly. And that was giving me the pocket money. I'm an early riser, so I always did the breakfast shift as well.
Okay.
So that was giving me some pocket money. But, as I got into it, it just basically changed my whole perspective about how business was managed. Okay. One thing you could say about McDonald's is that their drive for excellence, is basically embedded in their culture, all right, and consistency and so on. So as I was there, I started climbing up the ranks, from
flipping burgers, as they say,
flipping
right?
burgers, to a shift manager, to an assistant manager, and so on, to a restaurant manager, and just kept on growing within the business, while still doing my college and then going to university and so on. So that's basically where I started from. I mean, it wasn't the most glamorous job. Okay.
I understand. I can relate.
But it got me the money to go to the nightclubs and everything else.
Yeah, at the time. Yes, of course. Okay. That's what students want at the time.
Exactly.
Anyway. So,
exactly.
That's good. And so 16 years down the line, you become a manager of a restaurant in UK, right? And how was that journey? I mean, that's a lot, right? 16 years from I would say 16 from 16, right?
Yeah.
Or 16 to 16.
16 to 16.
You know, and you now become a manager of a restaurant in the UK. You know, how did that go? Your mental state, your staying power, you know, the ethics and everything that, you know, because it's not easy to just remain in the same industry. 16 years down the line, and you know, you're up there.
Yeah.
How was that really?
So, okay, think about it this way. I mean, 6 of those years. 6 of those years, I was still in school.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm old school. You can, from the gray hairs, you can tell I was doing things like A-levels. Yeah. So there was 2 years of A-levels whilst I was still working at McDonald's, and then there was 4 years of university as well. Yeah. All right. And I mean, like you asked before, what I did step out a bit and jumped into a publishing company.
Oh,
okay. But the excitement wasn't there. Sitting inside an office, you know, doing all administrative reading, everything, you know, the excitement wasn't there. It didn't offer me the same excitement and everything that McDonald's did. But what it did was, you know, it just made me get an appreciation for how this industry runs, okay? I think one of the key things was being able to understand that it was mostly the only industry that you can go from a team member or junior staff, from cleaning tables and so on,
literally
to management within a year. Okay, if that's where your focus, if that's where your focus is. And it trained me how to understand systems and processes. It trained me how to read data and how important data was in terms of managing your business and so on. But it was a transition that I took very seriously and didn't find any job too small. So whilst I was there, anything I was asked to do,
you did?
Yeah, I'll call it like you're a teacher's pet. Okay, so anything you're asked to do, you do. So because of that,
stuff as well.
Exactly. So what then happened is that you get taught more and more and more, and that's how gradually I grew up within the business.
Oh, that's nice. So going back to okay, so obviously you said going into publishing made you appreciate. Do you understand the industry? So at what point did you decide I have to go back? I can't be reading words all the day.
Money,
right?
No, I went back, one, because I found I was quite passionate about it. Okay. I enjoyed talking to customers. I enjoyed the training programs that they had and how they were developing people. And, you know, and it was just basically an all around. You had a bit of administrative work with the practical side as well. Okay. So you ain't just stuck there. Almost take it like an engineer, right? I mean, I'm not comparing Curacao to engineering. No disrespect to engineers. Okay. But basically you get to have the technical side and the administrative side and combine the two. And that's what, and making something happen. Okay. Putting a smile on people's faces, growing and training and developing people. Those were all the exciting parts about the business.
I keep on, like all my guests keep on saying this, right? Passion. And as much as I'm aware, right, passion drives you, right? But it just is dawning when you hear it from the horse's mouth, right? And from what you said, passion was really one of your foundations in regards to you approaching it mentally. And thanks again. I just want to appreciate the word passion in in the context of this conversation. And so you also worked in Ghana. Across at least those companies. Sorry, Stairs, Foods In. Foods In or Foods In?
Foods In.
Foods In.
Foods In.
Foods In.
FOODINN.
INN. So I have it wrong. I have it wrongly spelled here.
That's right.
Okay, Foods In. In Score as well. And I mean, those are quite big organizations, right? So what lessons did you learn from your early years in the African QSR ventures? And how did it prepare you really for? And how those working in those companies actually prepared you for Chicken Republic?
Yeah. Look, I have a lot of friends that move back to Ghana or move back to Nigeria. After a year, they run away.
Yeah.
I always tell people that if I didn't have the Ghana experience, the South Africa experience, I don't think I would have survived in Nigeria. Okay. I think Ghana basically set me up to understand that I couldn't just copy and paste what I had learned in the UK in Africa as a whole. Yeah. Okay.
Different environment.
It's a completely different environment, all its own unique nuances that you had to basically take into account. So it kind of got me prepared in terms of being able to localize and so on. So look at it this way. You've got a lot of company. If I work in Nestle and so on, it's a corporate setting. Everything's done for you. Okay, systems are created.
Structures there,
everything. You basically have to, not that there's no strategic thinking involved, but you basically, a lot of the time, you just have to implement, okay? Or there is a department that'll take care of it.
Do your job, basically.
Exactly. In Ghana, I didn't have that. Okay. So in McDonald's, I did, but in Ghana, I didn't. So now, in Ghana, made me understand and learn how to start creating those structures, how to start creating those systems and processes. Okay? Strategies and everything. And from that learning, when I came into Nigeria, made it a little bit more comfortable for me to ease into this market. Yeah. Okay. Steers was great for terms of understanding brand integrity. Foodzin is a part of InScore. It was a subsidiary of InScore.
Oh, InScore, really?
Yes. Okay. So InScore is a Zimbabwean company, and we did food courts and so on. But even with them, they were very result-orientated company. So it's basically, they told me not to give excuses.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hear that a lot.
Whichever way, and I've taken that throughout my career. Okay, learning those things from them is there has to be a solution. Either it cannot be done. Okay, in which case, but there has to be a solution. So, as a friend of mine says, there's 26 letters in the alphabet. If A doesn't work, you've still got another 25 to go. Make a plan and make sure that it works.
So it has to work.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good. And so how was the culture shock? I'm pretty sure the shock with Ghana, as much as it prepared you for Nigeria, right? They're both different, right? Different experiences,
right?
Yeah. So how was the Ghana culture shock for you first? We'll get to the Nigeria though.
Ghana culture shock. I always went home to Ghana. Even in the UK, I made sure to visit Ghana every single year. It was my home.
Okay.
Whilst my friends were going to Italy, Spain, and so on, I always went to Ghana. I love being in Africa as a whole, and my whole goal was at one point or another to move back. Okay, so it's.
Thank you for
wasn't
coming
much
back.
Of a shock.
If not, who knows where Chicken Republic will be today if you hadn't come back, right?
Oh no, Chicken Republic would have grown. I didn't develop Chicken Republic.
I know. I'm just joking.
So just in case.
But this, I mean, your presence definitely, still brought.
No, I think it's been a great team effort. Definitely, 100%.
No, really, really nice. In fact, I had two piece chickens fried 2 days ago. And I was like, I'm looking forward to telling you that it was nice. So going into, so definitely we finished Ghana and you're now transitioning into Nigeria.
Yeah.
Right. So when you took over food concepts, in Nigeria, Chicken Republic just had 7 outlets or so. Am I right?
So I joined in 2007.
Okay.
And when I joined as GM of Chicken Republic. Of the QSR business.
Okay.
So we had basically about 3 businesses, okay, under food concepts. You had the QSR business, you had the bakery business where we had the Butterfield bread. I don't know if you remember.
I know Butterfield bread.
So we had Butterfield bread, and then we had the property side of the business as well.
Property.
Okay, yes. At that time, it was called Food Concepts and Entertainment Limited at the time, before we transitioned into Food Concepts PLC.
Okay.
So Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, the key thing, 7 shops. I think I remember very clearly as soon as I got into the business, we were already getting prepared to open another 2 shops.
Yeah.
So it was basically just thrown straight into the deep end. And trying to understand how Nigeria works, how the consumers understand and relate to the brand and so on. So I remember as soon as we got in, there's 2 shops that we opened, one on Ajose and one on Isaac John. Okay. That was open before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically within 6 months.
Two.
So now I was trying to get familiar with the brand, get familiar with the operations, make all the adjustments, refocus the business, okay, on focusing on the Chicken Republic especially as a brand. Yeah, we had another brand called St. Elmo's Pizza. And we had another...
Chicken Licking.
Chicken Licking. So Chicken Republic was an offset from Chicken Licking. Okay. So the story...
Makes so much sense.
Yeah, the story, we had the Chicken Licking franchise.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, the taste profile wasn't suitable for the market.
Acquired the Nigerians.
Right. Okay. As you know, South Africa has a much more of a saltier taste. Nigeria, West Africa as a whole, we have more of a spicy. Yeah. So unfortunately, I don't think, from what I understand, we did not get any headway with the franchisor at the time. Yeah. So we defranchised from Chicken Licking and then became Chicken Republic.
Wow, this your answer. This history you just said now has answered so many arguments. I've had so many, because a lot of my friends, even colleagues, even Shegun, you know, like I'm sure Chicken Licking, Chicken Republic came from Chicken Licking, and I'm like, nah, the logos are similar, but you know, it's not the same. It's not the same. So I'm going back to finish up the argument. So thank you for shedding more light on that, right? So, I mean, you said you came in,
right?
You had to open two shops, two more shops, right? Well, now you guys have 300.
Yeah,
that's a lot more. So, I mean, you've literally told us the genesis of the journey towards 300, right? Well, how was that? How was that really, you know, that journey to 300? I want to believe you were part of that strategy and all that.
Oh, yeah, I was part of it. That's why I'm great.
Yeah.
Okay, I was definitely part of it. Okay. Look, it was interesting. I mean, we first of all, obviously had to get funding. Okay. The journey really started back in 2008. So we got in funding, and from June 2008 to January 2009, we went from having 9 outlets to 35 outlets. Okay. So in the period of 6 months, we'd opened about 24, 27 outlets.
That's aggressive.
Very aggressive. Yeah. Very, very aggressive. But in that aggression came lessons as well. Yeah. Okay. So in that aggression came failure. Okay.
Definitely. It comes with it.
So learning, like everything else, you learn from your mistakes, right? And then make sure that you don't repeat them again, and so on. So it's been a challenging time. We all know what Nigeria is like, okay? So there's you can put the best strategy in place. Nigeria will show you that you need to re-strategize.
You have to strategigize for Nigeria.
Exactly.
Only you just don't bring any other. It has to be Nigeria.
So I think what we've done is that we've been lucky to have a great team. The key thing was just to understand the Nigerian market, okay? And that Nigerians liked value for money, okay? So we had to understand, one, where the consumer markets were, okay? We understand the pocket size of the consumer, the taste profile, which we clearly understood, hence why Chicken Republic was developed. So one of the key things was just understanding that we were not just expanding for expanding's sake. We were understanding the communities that we were getting into. We were providing jobs. We were making sure that we understand that our pricing was good for that community.
And that's kind of evidence, really, in your strategy.
Exactly. So I couldn't price the same as, for example, Sokoto, as I did in Lagos Island, for example. Okay, there had to be different pricing. The same way as in Abuja, I couldn't price the same as Kubwa as I did as I'm in Kano,
Yeah.
as an example.
I don't know all these places, but I know they're in Abuja.
Okay. Yeah. So, we basically, had to gradually build, around our business in terms of our pricing strategy, understanding the infrastructural challenges that we have, and so on. I visited a QSR in the UK, finding out that they had over 500 outlets across the country, and had one central location. That they distributed from for all 500 outlets.
Really?
Exactly. Now, we know our infrastructural challenges here. So we realized we couldn't do that. So I have a warehouse in Lagos, I have a warehouse in Port Harcourt, I have a warehouse in Abuja to be able to cater for 300 outlets. So we can understand the challenges there. But, the key thing was the customer. How do we make sure we give the customer value? How do we make sure that your budget is suitable for Chicken Republic? And that's why along the years we came out with the refill meal at 500 Naira.
That refill meal worked. Saved a lot of us. So thank you guys for that. And I was going to ask how you actually, penetrated the Nigerian food space, because especially in Lagos, right?
Yeah.
There are so many, like the average buka, what they call them, pepper stew. Do you understand? And, there are different types of menus, really. You have the local cuisine, if I must say. And how did you guys actually narrow down, to create your own unique spice to be able to penetrate, the industry?
I think if you're operating in the full sense of a QSR, it's about having a limited menu and giving customers exactly what they want. Okay, so the key thing was to find out exactly what they want. Right. We have deals with brands like Coca-Cola. Everybody comes in and says, "Oh, how come you only have Coca-Cola?" Well, because from our research, when you go around to the other eateries, 70% of their drink sales was Coca-Cola. So why am I having anybody else there? Let me focus on that. So it was all a matter of focus on what the consumer wanted, all right? And be able to give them an affordable product. It was also just basically making sure that we can scale and, partner with, get strategic partners like local vendors, not have to rely on importation and so on.
For your resources.
Exactly. Now, look, every business has an element of importation. There's nothing that you do here in Nigeria or West Africa as a whole that doesn't have an element of importation, But it wasn't a game that we wanted to get involved. So we might buy from vendors that have an element of importation inside their business. But we definitely deal with Nigerian suppliers.
That's like killing two birds with one stone.
Exactly. So as far as we're concerned, we're 100% sourced locally.
You are sourced locally, technically. So it makes a lot of sense. And also heard you guys are now in Ghana, actually. You're in Ghana now. And we also found out you just started a franchise signed a franchise deal in Canada, and you're looking to go into US and UK as well.
Yeah, look, it's something that we've always wanted to do. In fact, I think we're way behind on making it happen.
Really?
When you look at the Nigerian music scene, how it's being exported to all these other markets, and don't get me wrong, there's other Nigerian cuisines, restaurants inside these countries and so on. But there isn't really a Nigerian QSR.
There's no Chicken Republic.
There's no Chicken
anything like that.
Right. And I think we looked at it that it was now time to start, and especially with Japa. So
they can still have
you can still have a taste of home. But I think it was more than anything just making sure that the brand represented Nigeria and West Africa as a whole in a positive way. Despite all the back and forth that we have with Ghana Jollof and Jollof is Jollof. Okay.
But at most you give the Ghanaians that Jollof, you give the Nigerians
exactly.
That Jollof.
So I think, we think it's a great opportunity not to go there and copy what the West has done, but to take Africa there and let people enjoy our jollof rice on a large scale. Okay, be able to get other customers from different ethnic groups and all walks of life to come in and enjoy the brand. So I think, look, it's apart from great for business, I think is going to be a great opportunity for the brand and for Nigeria as well.
It definitely would be, because you think about it, like, I mean, everybody's, like you just said, everybody's jackpotting, right? And having Nigerian, fast food at that level, I think you'll actually be very, very competitive on the other side. And you probably give those guys a run for their money,
We pray so.
Yeah. I mean, if you now, to think about it, if you now apply the same strategy you use here, with the consumer's pockets. I mean, I can just imagine being in school over there and I have access to a referral meal, right? As against you have a chicken and chips would probably be like $1 or $2 more expensive. So I think that's actually good though.
No,
congratulations to that. And hopefully when everything is done, we'll have you here again to actually, also how that went. And okay, so I mean, we've spoken a lot, really, and I wanted to go into how the money is made, which is really why we're here now. How money is made in fast food, but you guys have done a lot, and I want to go back into, because I know Chicken Republic was there for a while, food was coming out, everything, then after some time, PieXpress came up, started popping up in front of your average Chicken Republic branch, right? And I'm like, okay, the confusion came again. The same old Chicken Republic to Chicken Licken. Now, so is PieXpress part of it, or is it somebody else that just cut a deal with them? How did that go as well? What was the strategy into that?
So PieXpress has been a brand in our portfolio for years, even before I joined.
Really?
It's been sitting on the shelf. Okay?
Just there?
Just there. Okay, wow. And then back in 2019, we looked at how pies were really selling out of Chicken Republic. And we said, how can we make a more affordable pie for the market? Okay, how can we get a pie at the same price as what the tabletop sellers were doing and make it more formal, make it more secure? Okay, give people comfort in terms from a food safety, part as well, and something that customers can afford. Now, we started it in 2019. I remember April 2019 is when we opened the first one at Oniru. Okay, and it basically just took off. All right,
straight,
and you'll find that it had a completely different concept. Right,
it is just
one, it was affordable. 2, it was convenient. 3, it fell in line with the fast pace of Lagos. Okay, people basically loved the convenience of just being able to grab, and funny enough, what we found is that when there's a lot of traffic is when we sell more.
Really?
Yeah.
If someone just pops up, and the traffic can be crazy.
Exactly.
Really. Just pop up gets.
Exactly.
So you can say it's somewhat replaced the traditional traffic meal for Nigeria was gala and la casera once upon a time. But that's probably shifted it to, because you can just pop out, get your
exactly.
Okay, so that's how that. Okay, that's good. That's good. We all didn't know really that it was.
No, it's grown. It's grown. We've got 100 locations plus now, and there's a lot of opportunity for more. Yeah, much more.
That's nice. That's nice. There's some good insights here. So, okay, let's go into the money. Right? How the money is made. Really, that's where we really tend to focus on, on paid in full. And I'll just start with, so what are the core revenue streams, right, for a QSR business in Nigeria? The things that are always overlooked. A lot of people just feel you just go in, you've paid for your food, the money has been made, and that's it, right? But we believe there's a whole lot more to it.
There is.
So can you just shed some more light on that?
So, I mean, like you said, a lot of people think that your revenue comes from what just you sell over the counter. But you're right, there's a lot more that goes into it, especially in this day and age with all the technology and so on. So, you've got through delivery apps now. Okay, that's one port of revenue. Okay, if you're a brand of our size, there's franchising fees that you can earn money from. So from franchising the brand, out of the 200 Chicken Republics, 34 of them are franchise stores. Okay, amongst 14 franchisees. Okay. So there's some so
this one still generate on
exactly. So there's franchisees that own 2 shops. There's a franchisee that owns 17 outlets. Okay.
Really?
And so on. So I mean, it's as long as you're supporting, making sure you're helping them develop their business, they have no problem paying the franchise fees to you. So that's a revenue.
Everybody's fine.
That's a revenue stream. You'll find that there's some QSRs that do corporate catering. Okay, and outdoor catering events and so on. And then obviously, like I said, technology is taking, so your delivery apps and so on, or with the 3PLs.
Those guys have actually been of value really to the food industry.
Exactly. I mean, they've taken over the convenience space for people just to be able to sit at home and order, yes.
Because, I mean, if you're even running a business at that level, you probably need to consider deliveries instead of spending money to create for your deliveries and all that, so one else can take that off you. And you share your money, right?
Yep, that's it.
So that's fine. So we've touched on different streams of income. So but for a business like yours now, right? What has been the biggest financial challenges, in regards to scaling from 7 to 300 outlets?
I think once you've raised the right funds with the right partners, whether it's through the banks or whether it's through private equity or through a development fund of some form, the challenge for scaling is really making sure that your systems are in place, right? Because managing a small set of shops, like when we're managing 7, 10 shops, that's okay, all right? Once you start getting to 30, 40, 50, they're not all in the same location, they're not all in the same state, you start understanding that how do you ensure consistency? How do you ensure the same taste is in Lagos as it is in Abuja? Okay. How do you ensure operational efficiency? All right. So then what you then do is now start getting into proper systems and processes and basically infrastructural support. All right. So you start building things like central kitchens, warehousing.
I was about to add that.
Exactly. Warehousing and so on. And that can become costly. Okay. Especially if you haven't mapped out the market properly. Okay. So funding's available. You've just got to have the right model of the business and a business that you can scale properly. Okay. And to do that is basically to simplify your operations as much as possible.
Okay. So, I mean, jumping off, or rather adding to what you just said, the funding is available, right? So, it's ensuring operations and the team, really, people on ground at work. So, can you give us a peek into your pricing strategy, really? How you balance quality, affordability, and profits. Just share. I hope you are not reluctant, though.
No. So look, I mean, look at what happened in 2024. So your pricing strategy is a continuous balancing act. Okay.
2024 into now has been difficult for
everybody. With the inflation, and let's be honest, we had hyperinflation in 2024.
Yes, we did.
Okay. One of the key things that we look at in food concepts is say, okay, what is the statistical bureaus telling us that inflation is, and what is inflation in our business? Okay. So you'll hear that food inflation, for instance, 39%, but we're experiencing a 73% inflation on food.
Yeah, I imagine.
Exactly. And unfortunately, you have to pass these costs on. And this impacts the customer, especially when inflation is there, all the customers have disposable income is low. All right. But what we do is basically, like I said earlier, we like to understand the region that we're operating in. Okay. The key thing and the first and foremost thing is your customer. Okay. So we've built a brand that one offers convenience. Okay. over the years, QSRs have changed. The trend has changed.
They have.
Okay?
They have,
I always say this story that 20 years ago, if I say I'm taking my girlfriend to Chicken Republic, I've done something great. Now, if then you'll most probably get insulted. Okay, so you'll be caught.
Your relationship
might not go. When the date is over, they'll block. They can block you on your phone and everything else. But I mean, the key thing is that we understand the convenience that we need to give to customers, the consistency that they come to expect, the security in terms of food safety and so on that we have to manage with them. And then we also have to, like I said earlier, we have to understand the regional dynamics that we work in. Different regions. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So, like I said earlier, I can't charge the same price as I do on Lagos Island. Even in Lagos, there's certain parts, and once again, not to belittle any location, but I can't charge what I charge in VI in Okiafa. Yeah, for example,
you can't.
Exactly. There's a reality that you have.
They will react differently. Really.
Exactly. Yeah, okay, and they will basically respond by walking away from your brand.
Yeah, and probably spreading the message.
Exactly.
As well.
So what we do is that we categorize our pricing along the lines for different pricing strategies for different locations.
Okay. That's good. That's good. So definitely, as you're saying this, it just continues to make more sense every time I walk into a Chicken Republic shop, right? I go here, it's different, pricing is different. So, and that's good to know. And one other thing, like, that's been on my mind as well, is how you guys manage food waste, supply chains and all that. The idea for the average man is, at the end of the day, they sell fresh food. At the end of the day, anything that's left, all the staff take it home, and so everybody like, "Are you sure? I'm gonna go work for them," But so how do you guys really, manage that? The aspect of food waste, supply chains, and I wrote this down, and definitely exactly margins in the the economy,
right?
With the inflation and logistics and all that as well.
So, look. Chicken Republic as a brand and PieXpress and Chop Box, we've become what we call an affordable value brand, okay? Or some of the brands have an affordable value category, right? Okay. Managing supply chain is basically an ongoing battle, honestly. Is something...
I can only imagine.
Yeah, okay. We have over the years relied a lot on technology and data. Okay. So a lot of people in the QSR will know this, is that your systems gives you several reports: how much you sell an hour, your production plan, how much you sell on a Monday, how much you sell on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on for each day. Yeah. So you plan your production according to historical data. Okay. We know that the first week of the month is when customers have got paid and so on, and we want to treat ourselves, okay? In the middle of the month, we've kind of running out of cash, and so we have to slow down. And then get into the end of the month, okay, we're expecting salaries to come, and we start spending again. So is that trend that you have to, but we use a lot of data to try and manage that, okay?
Oh, okay.
All right. A lot of our supply is sourced locally. Okay, so we form strategic partnerships with vendors. We've gone from, at one point, we had about 22 chicken suppliers. We've come down to 4. Okay, because we've formed key strategic partnership with them. What every supplier wants to know is that they've got off-takers. Okay.
Can you explain to the audience what you mean by off-take?
Well, off-take is that there's people to take your stock, take your goods. Okay. So if a chicken supplier says that, well, look, I can't go and grow all these birds and then there's nobody to buy. These are perishable items. But if I have a brand like Chicken Republic that consumes so many tons a week and is ready to offtake, then I can plan with them and then move ahead.
Build your model, really.
Move your model. And when you're in that planning, so then we're agreeing price and being able to get very competitive prices below market prices and make sure that we can pass that on to the consumer.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, and definitely guarantees continuity. For the brand Chicken Republic, and definitely the suppliers, they'll probably be very happy, And okay, so I think we pretty much covered that. But well, going back to you, right? You are, I've heard so much. You are a leader, you're a people person, you're a mentor to a lot of people, right? And this question is
How many people?
For me. So I had this question for me. I wrote this down personally, and I want to read it out. So one thing that stands out in your story really is people development, and you've mentored team members from junior roles to regional managers. Why is this so important to you?
I think there's two main things. I mean, people development is for any QSR business should be at the heart of your business. Mm-hmm. Okay, if you want to maintain consistency and you want to be able to grow, for me, it's exciting to see people develop, those who are interested. Now, obviously, you're going to have people that want to come and go. Okay,
some people just want to come, earn money. Really.
Exactly, earn money and go. But those who want to really make a career out of it, is exciting to see that. And I get excited when I can give them that opportunity. Right? I sometimes will walk into a shop and I'll ask maybe a team member or a shift manager, hey, how comes you're not an assistant manager yet? I said, okay, I'm going to have a deal with you. If you're an assistant manager by this date, I'm going to give you 50K. Okay? Yeah. If you're not, you're going to give me 5K. Agreed? And we'll have a bet. And sometimes I lose. Happily.
Yeah, happily. Okay? Because, it's what you want.
Exactly. Anyway. So what you do is that when you develop people, you get more consistency in your business. Okay? And as they grow, your business grows as well. So you're not basically just looking after them, okay? It's a two-way street. You're looking after them and creating their career for them and creating opportunities. And there are a lot of Nigerians inside the market, talented Nigerians that are just looking for opportunity. Yeah. Okay. Really. So once you have the space and you have the opportunity for them to grow, they're more than capable and more than willing to apply. We have a training school called the Hatchery.
Really?
Yes. Okay. So it's a place where we do a lot of our training, development, and so on. And over the years, just for convenience, we've opened training schools in Abuja. We've opened training schools in Port Harcourt as well, just to make sure that we can
consistency
in our training. Yeah. Okay. But people basically are the key to our business. We wouldn't be anywhere without them.
Yeah. It's pretty much evident, right? If you can provide that kind of environment for your staff, what do you get back? Quality service in return, and definitely quality product, right? And adding to that, we also heard you guys are planning on giving long-term staff opportunities to own franchises as well. That's quite bold. What gave you guys inspiration rather?
Well, you said I worked for McDonald's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. So McDonald's does this.
Oh, it does this as well.
So look, apart from the cuisine, it's good to take some of the operational and business models from big players, global players like McDonald's and the others. And for me, once again, just like people development is an exciting part to be able to offer a staff that has dedicated and been part of the story of growing the business to where it is, to allow them to continue being part of that story, but now on their own terms as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, okay? And think about it. You've got two advantages here. One, the loyalty from the staff, and two, you've got somebody who fully understands your brand and your business and your model operating. So it's less of a headache from a franchising point of view.
They need to support as much. They probably even know who the go-tos.
Exactly.
That's a win-win. Yeah. You guys have some really, really good strategies going on. So, I was going to ask how you build loyalty, right? But I think we've pretty much established that. And so going into, expansion, tech, and the future, with the rise of delivery apps, really, ghost kitchens and digital menus, right? How is Chicken Republic, adapting to the tech wave as well in food service? I know we've dabbled a bit, but
yeah. I mean, you keep on hearing this term is disruption, right?
Service disruption.
Yeah, exactly. We're not seeing tech as a disruption. We're seeing it as an accelerator. Okay. Something that's going to help us grow and scale our business. Digital transformation is something that we invest quite a bit in, okay, to make sure that we're at the forefront as much as possible, okay, of technology that will basically make our business more efficient, okay? Yeah. One of the key things learning from my old life in McDonald's was when you work in McDonald's, inside the shop, it removes human error. Okay? So you don't decide when the chips are to cook. Okay, the timer tells you when it's cooked. Okay, because they've agreed what the temperature should be, what the cooking time should be. That's
so the texture comes out.
The texture comes out right. Okay. Yeah. Right now, we all have different concepts. If I put jollof rice on the stove right now, you feel it, yep, it's ready. I'll feel it, no, it's not ready.
It's not soft enough.
Exactly. So we have to bring technology in. So we've started doing that, for example, where we have a piece of equipment, you press a timer and everything. So our jollof rice should come consistent because it's not dependent on you and it's not dependent on me. Okay. So digital transformation in terms of, especially in our scale as well, in our support office for our finance, for our HR, for our appraisal system, and so on, are all part of our ERP system that we use for inventory management and so on, are all key. And those are areas that we keep on focusing on.
That's good. I mean, and also, like you said, data as well, data collection.
Yeah.
So do you see QSR becoming more localized or globalized in the future?
Definitely more globalized. Yeah. Okay. I think we're always going to be looking at different formats. We have ghost kitchens, which basically has a lower setup cost to having a full retail outlet. I think what you're always going to find is that international players are going to come into the market and localize some of their meals to suit the market, like you looking to do. And you'll find that some of the international players here will be selling jollof rice, okay? And this is most probably the only market they sell jollof rice in. Okay, they might have thousands of shops around the world, but you only get jollof rice here, okay? And the beauty of it is that they take these learnings back to other markets and grow from there. So I think, look, QSR has great growth potential. Yeah. I think we've already scratched the surface in Nigeria, especially in Africa as a whole. As communities grow and develop and trends change inside the market, you'll find different. Your lunchtime is no longer 12 o'clock. Okay, your closing time is no longer 5 o'clock. Right. So those are things that will as the market keeps on changing, as the market keeps on demanding convenience and different taste profiles as well, you'll find that QSRs are going to play a big role globally and locally.
Okay, I mean, and definitely, as in following from what you just said, right? I mean, as a visionary, what do you think the next big shift really in food business in Nigeria will be, or should we say globally? I mean, since we're not narrowing it down, and is food concept ready for it as well?
Look, I mean, consumers are becoming quite intentional and quite focused on what they eat. Okay. So from us, from any QSR business, sustainability is very key. Transparency in terms of how you develop your products and so on are very
environment,
key.
How clean your environment,
how clean your environment, and not just from the business point of view, on the community as well. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
And those are key. So ESG is something, environmental and social governance is something that we we pay very, very close to our hearts.
It's actually very important. Really.
Very, very important.
Can work against you.
And I think, it's with food concepts, we're always actively exploring different ways of doing our packaging. We noticed that Lagos government put a ban on plastic,
and all that.
styrofoams. And yes, we used styrofoams at the time, okay, but then you leveled the playing field when you put a ban on it. And I remember we immediately congratulated the local government on that initiative, because you do need to find a way of making sure that you can protect the environment from a QSR perspective.
That's nice. I noticed you guys also you have this like paper bags that you use then you now bag them.
Well, we've got. We haven't gone completely away, but it's a gradual process. I remember talking to a lady that is very, very knowledgeable on sustainability, ESG, and does a lot of training sessions for companies and so on. And, I said, it's something that we have to gradually, in Africa, we have to gradually move to. Okay, it's not something that's going to happen overnight, because you can actually collapse your business from that, right?
Yeah, you can.
And I always make the joke that, look, even Coca-Cola has a 10-year plan of getting rid of plastics. Why am I trying to do it overnight?
Overnight, exactly.
Okay, you understand? So, it's a gradual process. We've moved from plastic cups for our ice cream to paper cups. We've moved from styrofoam to reusable plastics, that people take home, wash and reuse again. We've moved from styrofoam burger packs to paper burger packs and so on. And gradually but surely, you'll see us progressing to paper bags and so on. But it is a gradual process. It's not something that can just happen overnight. But we do have other initiatives like recycling programs and so on, just to make sure that we're also contributing our part to make sure that we're saving the environment, not just for Nigeria, but globally.
And what are the cost implications for that? Was it better for the business or more expensive?
It becomes slightly more expensive. Paper packaging is always a little bit more expensive than plastic packaging. But it's something, when you're doing the right thing, you're doing the right thing. You can't compromise on that.
Okay, so I think we've covered most areas, and let's go into business advice, really, and wealth growth, where I think this is where, you as a person, you will share your value, so you've built something remarkable, really, not just a business, but, a brand and a movement, really. And what's one financial principle that has guided you this far, in this journey?
Simply put, discipline over excitement.
Discipline over excitement.
Okay.
That's key, though.
Yeah.
Can you explain? I won't mind.
So, being a business owner, and what you find a lot of business owners tend to be excited about what they're generating and want to immediately show wealth, and it doesn't work that way. Okay, everybody wants to be an oga. Okay, but if I take a quote from the Bible, Jesus washed one of his disciples' feet. Okay, that kind of leadership is what we need to be able to do. Okay, it's challenging in Nigeria. Okay, you don't see it much, but up to today, I sometimes go into the shops and fry chicken.
Wow, okay? That's humble.
It's not humble. It's staying in touch with your business. Okay. Yeah. It's talking with customers. I'll stand outside the shop, and a customer will come and say, "Is everything okay? How's your meal?" And they'll say, "Oh no, I always order from here. The meals." It's to get feedback. Or, "No, sorry, I tried this in last time and it wasn't dry, but I came back." You're even excited that you came back, because you could have even gone.
Could have gone and
anywhere.
Come back. Yeah.
But before you scale your business, you've got to understand there's certain fundamentals that have to be in place. Okay. Once you've got those fundamentals, and it depends on the business, of course. Once those fundamentals are in place, then you can think of scaling. But for I think, just to put it lightly, every business is what they say, passion will get you in the room. Discipline will keep you there. Okay. And that's basically what it is. Make use of data, make use of information, be analytical about your business. Do not do analysis paralysis, but make sure that, again, take calculated risks. Okay, don't take risk. Take calculated risk. Okay, every investment that we do, it is fully calculated. We know what the return on investment will be. We know what the payback period will be. We know what the internal rate of return will be the net MPV, everything. We do all those calculations before we open one shop.
Yeah.
And every shop is treated independently. So if I have a shop in Ajose, it's Chicken Republic Ajose Limited.
Period.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is not supported by Chicken Republic Oniru.
Okay.
It is not supported by Chicken Republic Okiefa. It is not supported by Chicken Republic Aminokano.
So there's no ripple effect or
no
anything.
ripple effect. It has to be able to stand on its own. Okay.
Yeah.
And we train our managers. Okay. Our managers are business managers.
Yeah.
Okay. Train your team. Okay. Develop them. You remember the quote that I saw it on LinkedIn once where it said, the CFO said, what happens if we train them and they leave?
Yeah.
And the CEO said, what happens if we don't and they stay? Okay.
Really? So what do you do?
What? Right. You have to train them. If they leave, train again. Put in a system of being able to fast track training programs that will be able to develop. But, for every business, it's about discipline. It's knowing when to be extravagant and it's knowing when to focus and grow your business.
Grow your business, definitely. I was going to say, I wanted you to actually look into the camera, right? And you pretty much said that, but the focus will be, I was going to say 21, but I want to use the age 16. 16. So what would you say to a 16-year-old out there who has big dreams of becoming a CEO or running a business, today? What words would you say to that person? And I'd appreciate you looking to the camera. So let them feel the inspiration dead on.
So look, if you're in a job, no matter what level you're at, you're already in the right place. Okay. The key thing is to remain focused and try and learn as much as possible. I think I said that earlier. What I did was I wanted to learn everything, all right? Once I learned one thing and mastered it, I moved on to the next. But every aspect of a business that you're interested in, you have to learn it from the bottom up. Do not expect to start and think somebody else is going to be doing that for you. 2, make sure that you're analytical in terms of understanding your business and understanding your customer and understanding your market. Okay, it is very, very key. Those are basically some of the basic things that I can mention for now off the top of it. Since you put me on the spot.
I know I did.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, look, I think it is, somebody said to me, be humble, be relentless, be curious. Okay. And, get involved. All right. As I said, I get involved in my business up to today. It's the only way I keep my fingers on the pulse of the business.
Yeah. Don't worry. I mean, the holistic conversation, right? They've learned a whole lot from you. I have as well. Thank you. And finally, so what's one hard truth, really, of making money in the food business that nobody really knows?
One hard truth.
Yeah. Is there really?
Okay. Well, the hard truth is your margins. Margins are thin.
Okay.
Okay. Somebody says sentiment is volatile. Okay. People only see the packed stores, customers coming into the shop and everything. People don't see all the 5 a.m. wake-up calls or 4 a.m. wake-up calls or having to call the supplier on a Sunday and rush to go and get something or
hazard in the shop or something.
Hazard in the shop and so on, okay? On equipment breakdown, your generator is broken down and this and so, as passionate as you are about it, there are challenges that come with it. The whole point is that stick with it, stay with it, okay, and and gradually you become to master it.
Okay. So thank you so much, Mr. No, you said I should call you Kofi.
Kofi, yes.
So I'll call you Kofi. Thank you so much, Kofi. You really, really shed a lot of light, in regards to the food business, the practicality, management, logistics, the whole 9 yards. And I'm pretty sure my audience, right, will be very pleased to hear your story. And we really, really appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much.
And like I always say, Mr. Kofi Abunu is paid in full. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
See you guys some other time. Bye.